Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. I'm really excited for my next guest. He's a friend of mine. His name is Chino Mante. Chino is a Las Vegas-based real estate investor. He's an agent, and he's a member of the SubTo Mastermind. We had the fortune. It was fortunate for me to be able to hang out with you very, we'll say, intensely the last community camp mastermind excursion up in Montana. We got to hang out together, do some hiking and traveling together. It was just a blast hanging out and getting to know you, man.
Yeah, bro. It was an amazing event. Shout out to my mentor, Pace Morby, for throwing that together for us.
Yeah, it was amazing. So well thought out, so intentional too, right? Like a lot of the masterminds that I've been to in the past is, it's a mastermind, right? You're supposed to be like connecting with people and using synergy to come up with big ideas and help motivate. And oftentimes masterminds are just people, sitting in the crowd, watching somebody on stage talk at you
Yeah.
and, gathering some notes and maybe leaving there with something that you can implement in your business. But this is one that I came away with just feeling inspired and
hmm
really feeling like passionate and feeling community. It was
Yes.
amazing, right?
Yeah. There's nothing like it. So anytime that Pace does something for everyone, I have to be part of it. Like no doubt. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, I'm in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you're really, a big part of the community. You're all over the place. You're really outspoken. I love when we're in the room and I can hear you in the back yelling something crazy out. Like what makes you tick, man? Like you're just such like a glass half full kind of guy. Like you're really optimistic and outgoing. I mean, how did you become this person?
I don't know, bro. I mean, just like a lot of people, right? Like coming into entrepreneurship, or I like to think a lot of entrepreneurship is coming from where I come from. It's like come from nothing, right? So I have the mindset of like, you know what? Hey, I gotta make something out of this because now I'm part of it. It's like when I joined SubTo on my first year anniversary as a realtor, right? And the very first Zoom that I attended was Pace talking about you gotta brand yourself. You gotta brand yourself to where you stick out so that nobody will ever forget about you. So I didn't, like I started looking it up, in SubTo community. I'm like, well, what about this nickname? And I came up with a nickname because nobody had it yet. It's called Pace Junior. So, so right away I grabbed it, and I was like, no, you gotta be loud. You gotta be louder. So and then one thing about I noticed about Pace is that if you want to be recognized, you need to help, right? And I was like, well, I don't really need to be recognized, but I just want to help because of the information that I've gathered, as a realtor, even though it's only for a year, there's a lot of things that I learned along the way, right? So I'm always giving out information like, oh yeah, think about this, think about that. So it just became that person, just I don't know, naturally, I guess.
Now you say that you came from nothing. Tell me about your upbringing. Where did you grow up? You got a really diverse background. Where are you from? How did you were you born in the US?
No, 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 I wasn't. Okay,
Okay.
so here's my bloodline. So I'm Filipino, Chinese, Spanish, and Black, right? So yeah. So my grandpa was born in the Philippines. His parents were from Spain, and then he married a Black woman, which is a native, one of our natives in the Philippines called Itas, right? And then my mom's side, she's Chinese and Spanish. So I came out like this.
Like how you describe that. It's amazing. I can only imagine the kind of diverse foods that come out of that bloodline, man. Like I've got, Hispanic, I've got Native American in me, Italian, um, I mean, and maybe some other stuff that we don't even know about. And
Yeah.
so we get a lot of spicy food. Like what defines like a meal at the Montes on Thanksgiving or like a holiday?
Well, just like any other Filipino holidays, we have rice.
Okay.
We have rice, like we try to stick to the tradition as well. Cause I used to do the turkey, but like it's like constant every 30 minutes. Like, of course, I would always burn it because I burn everything, right? That's one of my talents. I burn everything in the kitchen. But yeah, so like we have our traditional Filipino food and then American Filipino food, and then we combine it together.
I love it. So you come from this diverse background. It sounds like you had a pretty supportive, like loving family to get to this point. Are you guys pretty strong?
I would say so. So just on my mom's side, like I think there's like 12 of her parents, and then on my Spanish side, like there's more, right?
Hmm.
So just here alone in Vegas, there's a ton of Montes. Like there's a lot of us. So like we're always very supportive of each other. Like when we go to like family gatherings and whatnot, right? We're always texting each other like, hey, come to this event. Like it's kind of like a mini family reunion. Yeah. So bro, it's like it reminds me of SubTo.
Yeah,
Put it that way, right? Because that's how I feel about SubTo. SubTo is my family.
right.
Yeah.
So modest beginnings, you somehow find real estate, you become a real estate agent, and then you get into you doing wholesale and creative deal structure, and you had a lot of success doing that. Tell me about that transition going from like, okay, I'm just a realtor to now I'm like this investor and I'm leading like, sub two groups and becoming a leader in the mastermind itself. Like, how did that happen?
So there was one reason why I became a realtor. Because when I moved here from California, San Jose, California, um, before I moved here, I was homeless. I was homeless in Cali. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was homeless in Cali. Like, so none of my family actually knows. So if they're watching this, now you know.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, none of them knew that I was homeless because I would just like couch surf or sleep in the car, sleep at the park, right? That kind of stuff. And then my friends, would let me in if their parents, were not home so that I could take a shower, right? So I did that for about 2 years and then moved to California because my family said that, we're moving to Vegas because it's a lot cheaper, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's time, to start a new life. So driving here, because I drove with my family, I saw a bunch of homeless people, right? I was like, okay, there's something's gonna be done, right? Someone's gonna do something. So I'm like, how can I do this? Well, I was still trying to figure out, my life. So when I became adult, right? About 3 years ago, because we're still a little bit childish, but about 3 years, more than 3 years ago, I apologize. 3 years ago, I became a realtor, and it's because my mentality went, I need to solve that problem, right? How can I make more money? So my thought process, like, well, become a realtor because I thought realtors made a lot of money. Oh, was I wrong? Yes, I was. But that's another topic. So I became a realtor, and then I gifted myself um, SubTo membership on my first anniversary. And the only reason why I was able to do that because I was a killer in my brokerage. I was the newest guy, and I was the top selling agent in my brokerage. Granted, it is a smaller brokerage, but still, right? Because I don't take no for an answer.
Hmm.
My mindset, it's either a yes or a long yes. There's no no's,
Right.
right? So I was like, okay, now that I'm an investor, I need to get louder because I need to be able to help the less fortunate. But before I joined SubTo, I had already joined a group of um, I don't want to call them investors because they used to be my business partners, and most of them were medical professionals. You got doctors, nurse practitioners, nurses, case managers, and all that stuff. We banded together. They brought me in before I joined SubTo because they saw something in me, right? I didn't know what it was until I joined SubTo. I found out that I'm a visionary. And this lady that brought me in, the main character in the group, she saw that in me because she's a high level operator, right? She needed someone like me in order to take the lead. And I didn't know that I was leading
Mhm.
until afterwards, right? When our partnership, fell apart. I was like, this is why she hung on to me so much. And she wanted me to sign an NDA and non-circumvent. She wanted to put a leash on my neck. Yeah. But so but with Pace's help though, like he blew up my name. You know what I mean? Because he knows that I'm always out there trying to help people, right? Like, come on, let's help you out. What do you got? What do you got going on, especially newbies? Because this is what I told Base. It's like, Base, like, bro, like, I don't want the leadership title. Like, I don't need it. I just need to help people. I just want to help people. And then this was like going to because I always tell him this every time we hang out in Vegas, right? The last conversation that I had about this was going to Eric Worre's private mastermind event, which Pace took me with him, right? I told him, like, bro, like, I don't want the title. I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. He goes, well, that's what makes you a great leader, because you don't want the title. You're just doing the action. And then he gave me a challenge. Told me, this time, because you're tackling more things, you need to start creating other leaders. I said that's the only way that you can move forward, because just like you, I also step back and push people so that they can move forward. So no, that was the whole thing about leadership. I didn't want it. He's like, no, you need to do it. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
there's something in you about not wanting recognition. Is that one of your limiting beliefs, do you think?
Yes, 1000%. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It comes from what is it called? Imposter syndrome, which
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant, right? Until Vina Jetty brought it up. I'm like, what the heck is that? And you looked it up, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it means. Right. So, like, feeling of not being worthy of being called a leader, right? Like, who am I to lead? Right. I come from nothing. Like, like, bro, like, I used to be homeless, right? Back in the Philippines, like, I lived a poverty life, right? I used to go sleep when I was hungry as a kid, because there was no money, to buy food, right? So, like, all these things, just add up, right? So how I counter it is by just giving more, right? So I don't give money to the less fortunate. However, I pack sandwiches and hand them out with bottled water. I do this 3 to 5 times a month. And then just this year, I decided to open it up to my investor friends, right? Because Pace told me. Yeah, he told me indirectly. He said, you need to do you need to be more inclusive, and people need to know what you do. Because in one of our meetups here in Vegas, when Pace came here, he asked me, bro, what do you do? And then I started laughing. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, nobody knows what you do. Everyone else is like wholesaler, everyone's doing this, blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, well, I'm a buy and hold investor. And like, he goes, yeah, but what do you do? I'm like, all right, I think it's time for you to know. I help house the less fortunate. So
And in real estate terms, does that mean acquiring rental properties and then creating affordable housing for them, like through
yes,
like government subsidies and getting money from, grants and that sort of thing? Because they don't have the money, right, to do it. And as a real estate investor, you need to have an ROI for it to be sustainable, right? So there's a balance there. Is that kind of how you structured it?
kind of, except for the whole government side of it. So there's more to it. When I was brought in to be part of this group of I don't know, partnership, right? The way we do things, we call them independent living homes, right? They're not group homes because we don't need any assistance for any ADLs. Yeah, you know what ADL is, right?
Um, no, I don't.
Okay, so activity of daily livings,
Okay.
right? It's like taking a shower, going to the bathroom, cooking for themselves, that kind of stuff. As long as our people don't need any assistance to do any of that, they're independent. Therefore, we can house them without having to go through ADA compliance, right?
Mhm.
That's why they're called independent living and they're not group homes, right? So how we we acquired these properties. So that's where I came in. I acquired all these properties for the partnerships, right? And the way we did it at first was lease option. So I successfully acquired 9 properties as lease option. So we would lease option it from landlords, the ones that are not moving in the market, right? Typically. And then we place our people in. How our people, which by the way, I do not call them tenants, right? I call them family members, right?
Mhm.
So the way they pay their rent is, one, they either have an under the table job or a regular job that doesn't affect their benefits, right? Two, their family members, their blood family members, right? The relatives, they could be sending them money to pay for their rents. And or three, from their disability fundings, right? So they can get money from the government, but they need to receive it first. We don't touch it first. Right? It's always them first, right? And then whatever the agreed amount that that they're paying is they're paying out of that. So
Mhm.
it could be one, two, and or three.
Got it.
Yeah,
So you have money coming in. You're not getting any sort of subsidies from the government directly, but they
not yet.
may to be able to pay for that. Um, so how do you balance the thing about ROI with a rental property, right? Because it's supposed to cash flow.
Correct.
It's supposed to, right? And for you,
Yes.
it it seems like as long as you're breaking even, you'd be okay, right? Because you're accomplishing your greater goal, which is to help the less fortunate find housing. Um, these things were making money, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on top of what I do, right? Like I go out there, I pack sandwiches like yesterday, right? I did it like a solo edition, what I call it. So I pack sandwiches, I hand them out with bottled water. I have a conversation with it, right? Especially when time permits, right? That's where Kristen, shout out to Kristen, she clears out my schedule, right? So I can do this all day, right? So there's no disturbance whatsoever, right? So I spend time with them, just having a humanized conversation. That is the first step because I realized towards the end of my partnerships, with these individuals, that it was something that was missing. Everyone was being systemized. No one was humanized, right? So I brought that up. So it's not just the money aspect for me, right? It's the whole purpose of having that mindset of I see you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So like legit, like I talk to them, right? Just like any other human being, I have a normal conversation with them. The most so the less I talk, the more they gravitate towards me, right? So just the two words alone when I go out there and spend time with them, right? I saw this young man right outside the hospital after I dropped off an individual that I took off from the streets, right? Came from the tunnels of Las Vegas, right? Got him off, right? And then took him to the hospital. And then right outside the hospital, there was a young dude, right? And then, I noticed the traits right away that, like him being a less fortunate. And then I went up to him. I was like, I nodded. He nodded back. And then I was like, you good? And he looked at me. And then dude just started crying. Just crying. Yeah. And I was like, may I sit right next to you? He goes, yeah. And then just started having that humanized conversation. How you doing, bro? Man, life is tough. I'm like, I know. He goes, I don't think you know. And then I said, I know. I used to be homeless myself. Then that's when he looked at me and it was like, okay, yeah. He goes, I'm 26 now. I've been homeless since I was 17 years old. He said, there's not that many people that come up to me and ask me how I'm doing. That simple question, people don't realize, or us that have more than them, we take that for granted. Good morning, how are you? Right? To them, that how are you or you good question means more than it does to us because now they feel that they're being seen. by people like us who choose to look away, right? Who choose to just drive past them, right? I'm guilty of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I got places to be, things to do, whatnot, right? So I'll make it to a point where, like, okay, you need to spend time with them, right? Make those sandwiches, hand them out a bottle of water. Try not to get arrested because it is illegal, right? Yeah, they have a city ordinance that we cannot feed homeless people, right? However, lately, not to deviate, cops have been on our side. That when they see us, they don't stop us because they know it's needed, right? But these are the things that I do first, you know, before I house them, because I need to know what type of help that I'm going to provide them. One, whether they need to go to a rehab center. Two, they might need to get um, their documents such as ID, social security, insurance card, whatever it is, right? So I personally take them to these buildings, right, for that, so that we could, get their documents, right? Even if I have to, I'll take them to the DMV, right? Like all these little things that you gotta do, and then once they're ready to be housed, then I'll house them. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Because just like a lot of people, most of us, they have trust issues. It's not normal, like I said this on my Instagram story or my reel. It's not normal for them to have a stranger be nice to them, right? Most of us that have more than them, we do things so that we can feel good about ourselves, right? We're all guilty of it, right? Like, yeah, I'm doing my good deed, right? So that's the mindset that I'm trying to encourage investors, and their youngins, their kids, that we do things because it's the right thing to do. We don't do things because it makes us feel good, right? So that's the reach that I'm trying to accomplish, right? So like you having me here on this podcast, my phone has been blowing up. People want to see this live, right? And like I don't know if this is gonna be live, but hopefully it's being recorded.
Oh, it is. And we'll get it out there for people to see. And I'm intentionally kind of keeping quiet here because your message is so powerful. And it's touching me. Like I kind of feel like your passion for this, and it's important. You're right. Like people are busy. We've got a lot of things to do. We've got big goals, and we're like appointment to appointment, and we don't typically make time even for ourselves, let alone other people.
Hmm. Yeah,
We neglect ourselves. Like our health isn't great, and our relationships suffer, and other responsibilities don't get the attention that they deserve because we're so laser focused on success and making money that how would we ever have time for somebody else that we don't know?
yeah,
Right? It's a probably mind blowing for a lot of people, but you're in a unique position because you've experienced it, right? So you've got like firsthand experience in what people are going through, and that was how you were able to create that bond with that person outside the hospital. Was he's like, no, you don't know, and you're like, I do, and he believed you, right? There was something in the way you said it because some people are like, oh, I understand, right? And you're like, yeah, sure, you understand, but you said
yeah,
it in a way where he looked at you in your eyes and he was like, oh yeah, this is my people.
yeah. So I don't ask questions, especially that are very personal. I that gentleman never asked him if he was homeless, right? I told him that I used to be homeless, right? So that right there, instantaneously, like he connected even more, right? So I gave my phone number. I told him, when you're ready, I'm not gonna push you, but I want you to know you have a safe, you have a safe place to be. You don't have to live in the tunnels anymore. He goes, it's all I know. Been like this since I was 17 years old. I'm like, I know. But when it gets rough, not if, when it gets rough for you, you call me. And I want you to bother me, call me back to back to back to back.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when he's ready and he comes to you and he says, okay, I want a place to live, what does he need to have to be able to make that happen? You said documents, right? There's some sort of a financial commitment, right? Because you have a mortgage to pay, or there's a mortgage to be paid. What's the due diligence process for you? Obviously, you want them to be a fit, and you want to believe that they're going to follow through and they meet your quote unquote culture.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So I asked them, this throws them off all the time when I ask them, like, so what's your ultimate goal? And they look at me like, what? Like, we're talking about life goals, right? Because that's something that, they're not thinking of, right? When you're out there in the streets, they're the first thing that they think about is like, what's my survival mode of the day? What am I going to do to survive today, right? So I asked them, like, so what's your ultimate goal? And a lot of times, they just look at me and they're blank, right? However, there's some that tell me, I want to do what you do to be able to help others. And then I smile. And then I tell them, welcome home. I'll show you everything I know. Then we move forward, right? Getting a job, that's easy. All they need is just an address, right? Here's the address. Okay. You need an ID? Let me take you to courtyard. Okay. They'll pay for your ID. Right. So there's processes, right? That resources that I know that I can provide them. Right. Once they're ready, okay. We place you in a home where it fits you best. Because in every homes that I have, there needs to be different types of individuals. Right. So I also especially house homeless veterans. Right. So I need to have like at least one veteran in one house, a regular tenant that never homeless before, right? And then I have civilians, right? That used to be homeless and or with mental challenges, right? And or substance abuse problems in the past, right? So I have a variety of people in every house. So like I have to see where they fit well.
Mhm. So you have kind of a blueprint already figured out, and what works and what doesn't work based off of past experiences. Like, before we talk about the success stories, do you have anything where you're like, oh man, that was a good learning experience for me? I did that the wrong way.
Yes. So um I do most of my people. So let me reiterate this, for the ones that just joined or watched this video in the middle, right? This video. So I don't call my people tenants. I don't call them patients, right? Because with my previous partnerships, they used to call them patients, right? The real world, or civilians, they call them tenants. I don't. I call them family members because they are legit have become family members, right? So most of my family members, they used to be homeless, right? Most of them, they have mental challenges, and most of them, they used to go through substance abuse problems, right? So this right here helps me structure now with this type of mindset than when I took over. After I fired, my operators, there was something that I did wrong, right? I didn't spend enough time with them because I was too busy going from one house to another, right? Structuring, trying to create the copy and paste model, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was needed was to spend more time with them in each house and then show my partner, my operator now, right, how to do it. Right. He was also one of the major partners in that partnership. He was the one that told me, like, Chino, I'm out of this partnership. I want the property back. I'm like, then go get it. Right. But little did I know, because he brought me in, to structure things. And I told him, like, bro, I've never operated before. He goes, yeah, but you're really good at talking to people. And I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. So the thing that I was missing was that spending more time with them in the beginning. So then I could pass it on to my partner. This is how you're going to treat them, right? One individual, I didn't know how severe her schizophrenia was until a couple months after I took over. She started seeing more things, right? She started talking loudly, more vulgar, right? And how I wish I figured that out, you know, the beginning of this journey when I took over last year, because I can guarantee you I could have saved her, right? That I didn't have to evict her. It was just a matter of spending more time with them. So that was my, my learning curve right there.
So more of the people interaction aspect of the business rather than just, multiplying the business side, right? Getting more assets, right? More performing assets, better ROI. Like you're thinking, okay, for this to succeed, there has to be a good balance, maybe even leaning more toward the compassion and getting to know your people and giving them your time.
Yes, 1000%, which is what I'm doing now,
Hmm.
right? So I tell Kristen, like, I need to spend more time with them, right? I need you to clear out my schedule, right? That's why, like, when a lot of people like reach out to me, like before I brought Kristen in as one of my partners, as one of my operators, um, I would always, when somebody called me, I'm like, sorry, and busy teaching people how to be human, right? When I click that message, I know that I'm out there with them, right? I'm out there with the less fortunate. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
having those humanized conversations with them, like try to show them like, hey, there's another way, right? We don't have to live this way, even though we've been used to, we're used to being living like this, right? There's another way.
Yeah. So real estate in general, it can be, it's incredibly competitive, right? And it's profit driven and it's KPIs and ROIs. And when people hear about this kind of compassion driven approach, do you get any resistance from people or criticism about how you run your business? And do they think, oh, I don't want to do business with him because I'm not going to make any money? He's too about the people.
Yeah, no, 1000%. So, right, just like any other business, you're gonna have people that have polar opposite opinions, right? So, I do have some friends that are concerned about, well, what do you do when something happens? I'm like, well, what do you mean? You have insurance, right? Well, what if they can't pay their rent? Well, my case, I'm like, well, what do you mean? I just talk to them, right? Like, for instance, so what people don't realize, when you're housing the less fortunate, in from my experience, and I don't want to speak for anyone else, it's just from my experience, it is so much better than your quote unquote regular tenants. Number one, because your regular tenants, they haven't hit rock bottom for the most part. So their mindset of entitled, being entitled, right? And then victim mindset is still there. Me, I'm housing the less fortunate, bro. They've hit rock bottom already. You know what I mean? When you give them something, when I'm out there giving them sandwiches, I tell them, hey, I need you guys to be in one line. Bro, right away, they're in one line, right? And like, it's amazing. And then here's another part, right? So I gave them out, like yesterday, perfect example. I was handing out sandwiches and water. Saw this dude outside of McDonald's because I was looking for another individual. It's like, hey, you hungry? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, I get some sandwiches and water. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, yeah, come on. So he followed me to my car, and then I handed him out two sandwiches and two bottles of water. He goes, no, 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 I only need one bottle of water. I am really hungry though. I'll take two sandwiches. I was like, yeah, but it's hot out there, bro. Come on, take another bottle. He goes, no, you can give that to somebody else who needs it more, right? So the mindset is so different.
Mhm.
When I had an individual who could not pay rent on time, she was very apologetic. Like, Chino, I'm so sorry. I'm late in my rent. I don't know what's wrong with my bank, blah blah blah. This and like, hey, it's okay. Well, I don't want to get kicked out. And I'm like, you're fine. I'll talk to my partner, right? To where, like, dude, like, they know what they've got going on now is so much better than what they did before, right? So they don't want to mess that up compared to quote unquote regular tenants, right? Oh, oh, I can stay here not paying rent and they would have to evict me, blah, 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 this and that, right? Like, different mindset. So do I have people that question, like the process? 1,000%, because they're not really familiar with it, right? Even if they claim to be like they are, they're not. They're not spending time with the less fortunate.
So do you have any examples of like when it just went perfectly? You got the perfect tenant, you helped somebody that you wanted to help, who was resistant, they were like had a breakthrough, like any like stories
Mm,
like that where you're just like, man, this is why I do it.
great. So I'm going to tell you this story. And okay, I was sent by one of my partners to meet this lady, right? She's coming from our serene living type of property. And this individual was never homeless. And to my knowledge, does not have any mental challenges. I'm not a doctor, right? Um, don't have substance abuse problems. I was sent by a partner to evict her, right? So I requested a meeting. I told her like, oh, actually no, she demanded a meeting 2 days prior, right? But I could not respond, right? I could not respond. So here's how the story went. So 2 days later, I set up a meeting with her at McDonald's because that's where I have my meetings all the time. Shout out McDonald's. You may sponsor me now. So um my partner was like, Chino, I need to evict her. She's so negative, like people are not getting along with her, blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, okay, great. And then when I saw her get out of her car, I had this, I don't know, because my English is not very good. Is it epiphany? What is it called? Like when you like have a flash or something, flashback or something?
Yeah, epiphany.
Yeah, epiphany. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had an epiphany, and something was telling me, like, she is a human being first before a tenant. So you need to humanize that conversation with her. I'm like, okay. So I calmed my energy, and then sorry, we sat down. As soon as we sat down, she started blabbering, right? Complaints after complaints after complaints after complaints, right? And then I did this thing, right? Okay. She caught herself. So she stopped. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're fine. It's like, can I talk? And she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay. I said, I was sent here by my business partner to evict you, right? Before you walked in that door, I had two things. Before you came here, I had two things in my mind. One, to get you out at the end of the term of that prorated timeline, or two, you get out now. She was like taken back. She was like, what? You mean I'm not going to get what I'm asking for? Right? The entitled mindset, right? I told her, like, we don't deal with victim mindset and entitled mindset. However, right before you walked in, something told me to humanize this conversation, because 2 days prior, you were blasting me in our group chat, in the main house group chat. And you were telling me in front of everyone in the group chat that I'm just a slumlord that just wants his money and don't care about his people. I said, okay. I didn't respond. The reason why, because I was out in the streets and I was in the tunnels, helping getting people off the streets. I said, I was busy with the less fortunate. And then she goes, what's a less fortunate? I said, less fortunate are people, one, that have less than us, right? Are people that are not being seen by people like us. The less fortunate may have mental challenges, substance abuse problems, right? Live in a tent with their kids, sometimes with their pets, right? The less fortunate are out there. They've got open wounds, laying down on concrete when it's like 2,000 degrees outside in Vegas because they have nowhere else to go. I said, that's the less fortunate. And the less fortunate are my people. And then she started crying, right? She was like, Chino, I'm so sorry. I had no idea, blah, blah, blah. I told her, like, it's not your fault. You didn't know. right? You just assumed that I was ignoring you because I just wanted your rents. And I get that. It's a normal reaction. I said, however, I've met so many people like you who now live in my other properties. Instead of evicting you, I am relocating you. Bro, it is such a powerful moment for her, right? Like she started crying even more. She was thankful that she wasn't getting evicted. And then she went from that house, right? The regular house, which is now a serene living house. Um, she went from that house paying $800, and I relocated her to one of my independent living homes, and now she's paying $1,300. Yeah, only because now she knows where she belongs. I encourage, our homies out there watching this. You're a landlord. Don't just evict your tenants. Have a humanized conversation with them, because you never know what the individual is going through, right? This lady, what she was going through is very similar to my people, which she just needed to be seen. And I found out later on that her family had rejected her. That's why she was renting a room from us. That her own blood family don't want her, right? To the society, they'll see her like, well, she's a menace. That's why nobody wants her. To me, I'm like, no, she just needs a hug, right? She just needs to be embraced. She just needs to find her people. So that was like, I don't know, one of the powerful things that I've experienced doing this.
Yeah. It's got to be so fulfilling to know that you're making such a positive impact on people's lives. And there's that saying where it's better to teach a person to fish than to give them the fish, right? And is there an element of that in what you do? Like, are you giving them a place to level up and move on and do bigger things? Like, what's next after you put somebody in the house and you get them home, housed, right? What's the
Mhm.
next step for them?
Okay, great. I love that question because I've been working on this. So I don't know how much I can reveal. However, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a snippet. What's next for them is one, they either they become a house lead. For each house that I have, there's one house lead, right? You can't call them house managers because they're not your employees, right? So they become a house lead, and then that, or they get a job, whether if it is under the table, so they're not losing their benefits, right, or whatever it may be. However, I'm partnering up with another SubTo Mastermind, and as well as owner club member, right? Owners club, by Pace. What we're doing is we're doing a triad business model. So we're tackling Boston, Vegas, and Dallas, and we're teaming up together to where we're buying these home servicing companies.
Home servicing companies. What is that?
One in particular, pesticide, right?
Mm.
Full servicing company, right? Yard work, plumbing, electricians, whatnot. All of these things, they all tie to real estate. But all of these things, they require what? Employees.
Mm-hmm.
So this friend of mine, reached out to me, asked for a Zoom, and then I was like, bro, I want to do this, but I need more people, which is why he came to me. So now we're gonna go into venture together in the business aspect of it. I'm gonna give my people, excuse me, I'm gonna give my people, the less fortunate, the opportunity to work, right? To hopefully they'll make so much money that they're not gonna be depending on, any type of government help or from their families, right? So I'm trying to build that so that they can get back out in the society, if they choose to, right? I'm not gonna twist their arm. So
Right.
that is the quote unquote level up.
I love it.
Yeah.
Are you offering them any other educational opportunities, to go and learn, maybe get a GED, go to college, do some online training, maybe even learn real estate investing?
Amazing. So that question actually it puts us to the next topic in my head, right? Which is something that I created, and I shared this with a few other masterminds. Shout out to Matt Peckman. I shared this with him at community camp when they were at our RV park, right? So 4 stages of housing is what I created and I've been implementing. What that question ties to stage number 1. In 1 second, my throat. So stage 1 housing, it is a 90 days to 180 days. It is designed for young adults, right? Young adults actually they add the most population numbers in homelessness. They're about the homeless population consists of 80% young adults. These are individuals that used to be in foster care or nobody wanted to adopt them, right? And it's real. So I want to create the 4 stages of housing. Stage 1 is that right there. There's going to be programs for them. Has this been done before? Yes, by many organizations. However, what's unique with mine is this: not everyone will graduate stage 1 housing. Not everyone will go through programs, get GED and all the things, get their their life training, and then succeed, right? So, Benson, I'm going to pick your brain. What do you think happens when somebody from stage 1, right, or young adults falls through the cracks, doesn't get their GED, right? They don't develop the life skills training that they need to tackle life after they graduate the 180 days. What do you think happens to them?
Well, they probably, turn to drugs, alcoholism. They become part of the system. They're in and out of jail. They get incarcerated, um, or they kill themselves.
1,000%. So that's why stage 2 must happen. And it is what I've been implementing, which is independent living home. They're not going to know anything about stage 2 because we're going to push them to get prepared for life, right? We're going to push them forward. But there's going to be a few that's going to fall through the cracks, right? Stage 2 is independent living housing. That's their safety net. Because I can't just allow them to fall through the cracks and then I move on, right? I went to Pahrump recently. Pahrump is about 45 minutes away from Las Vegas.
The city?
A city, yeah, Pahrump City.
Trump. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm also like starting to invest there, right? Buying properties. So I went there and talked to different organizations and whatnot, right? Like hospitals, clinics, VA clinics, especially. And then other 90-day program transitional living homes. I asked them, so what happens, if they fall through? They said, well, they fall through. It's like, you guys are not, like trying to save them. Like, Chino, we've been trying to save them. If they choose to fall through, then they fall through. And I'm like, I didn't fight that, right? I didn't have an argument with them, but in my head, I'm like, no, that's not acceptable. So, can you imagine? Because everyone goes through different trauma in life, right? Everyone copes differently, right? Can you imagine you being that young adult, right? You've been abused in many ways more than one, and then you'll fall through the crack, and now what's in your head is like, see,
I was
nobody,
right.
yeah, nobody really wants me.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna do the things that what you mentioned, right? So stage 2 housing, which is independent living, we're going to catch them and then show them family culture, right? We are gonna show family culture in stage 1 housing, but show them more, help remind them, this is your family now. you matter, right? Because when I took over, when I fired my operators, I added 3 rules because I created the contract, that my operators had. I told my people, I said, I'm going to add 3 things on top of the what you guys signed, and if you guys don't like it, the door is wide open. And then I said, you must learn how to love, respect, and protect each other. I said, that's non-negotiable. I said, this is your family now. You have to treat each other as such. So with stage 2 housing, hoping, right, those young adults that fall through the cracks will then feel that they have a purpose, right? As opposed to just having them trained, to go through life, right? Get them education, entrepreneurship, because I am going to educate them, how to be an entrepreneur. But not everyone is cut for it. You and I both know that, right? Not everyone is cut to be a wholesaler. Not everyone's cut to be an entrepreneur. So I need to know where they fit. So that's why I created the 4 stages of housing.
Hmm. So you elaborated on stages 1 and 2. Can you tell about 3 and 4 as well?
Sure, yeah, 1000%. I needed a second to breathe. So once they're done with stage 2, like let's say, I want to get a job, blah blah blah, this and that. And I'm like, okay, great, get a job, okay. But if they don't make the rent rate, the rental requirement, such as make 3 times the rent, high credit score, good credit score, and or background check, right? If they don't make any of that, but they get a job, right, and they want their own space, they can do so by going to stage 3, which is affordable housing, right? Such as Matt Peckman and I, we talked about this because he asked me, bro, how can I help your journey? I said, I need you to stay where you're at. Keep buying these mobile homes, these mobile home parks, and everywhere, because I'm going to tap into your shoulder once stage 3 is being implemented. Because I need you to lower that price, whatever it is. And it's a very specific mobile homes that I want you to buy, right? Which I'm also going to create here in Vegas. So what it is, we're going to tap into our resources, government resources, such as Section 8 and or HUD-VASH, right? As well as agencies, nonprofit organizations that also issue a housing voucher. So with that right there would help them, right? But they have to meet requirements. Like, okay, or rules. They cannot break rules. They cannot bring anyone in, right? Girlfriends or whatever it is, right? They cannot have anyone living with them. So they're gonna go through life. They're gonna want to make more money. Okay. That means they're gonna get disqualified from receiving those housing vouchers, right? That's for stage 3. Well, where are they gonna go next? It's like, Chino, like, I met this girl, like we want to stay together, but I understand I'm going to break my, it's a breach of contract, want to know, like, where else can we go? Or moving out, right? Right. They're going to say, like, we're going to move to a place to where, like, we're allowed to be with each other. That's where stage 4 comes in. Stage 4 comes in is what I told you in the beginning of this podcast. Lease option. Because it is such a low entry point for them that I would only require them, possibly only 2 months of rent, right? And then they have the option to buy the property later on when they're ready. Of course, we're going to structure it, right? We have the paperwork, the right documents, and whatnot. So now they're encouraged to own their own property through lease option, which is how I started this journey.
Full circle.
Yeah, full
We
circle.
just came full circle.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Like your vision, like earlier you said, like someone had to kind of like guide you to learn that you were a visionary. For me, it seems obvious, but that's that limiting belief that you were thinking like, who am I to be a visionary?
Yeah.
You're proving it all the time. And this path that you've created for people is amazing, completely selfless, but you're doing it through entrepreneurship too, which is another one of your passions. So like you somehow merge these 2 things into this really exciting thing that you probably have like no challenges getting up in the morning. You probably jump out of bed, singing, whistling all the way to the shower, brush your teeth, probably singing, some beautiful song. Like, man, it's really cool what you've created, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, bro. You're absolutely right. As soon as I get up, go straight to work, right? And I do my, I do sing like karaoke, right? Not a professional. I just I think music is, music is therapy, right? So,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, by the way, so I'm gonna share this, with everyone. So with every, like housing that I do, we celebrate three things, right? One, the welcome home celebration when they join our, family membership, right? Two, their birthday, and the third one is, I think it's very painful. That's when we part our ways, right? I call it the farewell celebration,
Hmm.
right? So for instance, this lady gave her a farewell celebration. She was bawling, she's crying her eyes out, right? Before we got to that, she gave me her notice. She's like, Chino, I hate to do this. Um, my family wants me back. My blood family wants me back. And I'm like, that's amazing. Congrats. And then she's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean, no? It's like, she was like, Chino, you don't understand. They didn't want me. And now they want me back. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to give it a try. I'm like, okay. So the day of farewell celebration, she started crying, right? She gave me a hug. She was like, I'm going to miss you guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then she goes, no, I don't think you understand. I've been homeless for 15 years. I've been in and out of different houses, sober living home, transitional living home, halfway houses, independent living homes, you name it. She said, this is the first house that's ever made me feel like I mattered. So, yes, it's difficult for me to leave, but I have to give my family a try, my blood family. I'm like, yeah, it's like, we're always going to be here. She's like, no, Chino, you're always full. And then I started laughing. I was like, well, this house, yeah, like I have other houses. And then she goes, well, how do I know that those other houses are gonna be, have a space for me? I'm like, trust me, I will always find a way to have a roof over your head. And then she gave me a hug. She was like, she was thankful. She was like, thank you for seeing me. Right? The whole mindset again, the whole mindset of I see you.
Man, what a good story. It's so powerful. And I know that people that are going to be watching this are going to be thinking, God, I want to get involved. Like, how can people help you? Right? Do you take donations? Do you take investors? Like, how can people help you with this cause?
So mindset issues, right? Like so I've been battling. So I created a nonprofit last year, right? To any future viewers, we are now August 20th of 2024. So I created my nonprofit last year in 2023. It's called Pay It Forward. However, I have not used it because of a whole imposter syndrome, right? Not feeling worthy of having my own nonprofit, right? A lot of people, a lot of heavy hitters in SubTo that are pushing me like, bro, you have to open a bank account. I'm like, I know, but like I need to, like I keep saying like I know, but I'm not doing it, right? Because of the whole mindset issue, like not feeling worthy to run my own nonprofit, but I have to do it, right? So soon, I will post it on my social media, but for now, you can reach out to like Chino Mante on Instagram and Facebook, right? Direct messenger or instant message. How you can help me in this journey is by you staying where you're at. Help the less fortunate in your area, right? Know your city regulations. If you can hand out sandwiches, if you can, do something for them, right? And do it not because it makes you feel good. Do it because it is a right thing to do. So you don't need to send donations to me, right? If you do, hopefully, by that time, my nonprofit bank is already set up, then I'll blast it on social media. I'll have a link for it. But for now, I don't have that, right? Just send me prayers, like pray for, pray for us, pray for the less fortunate. Hopefully, everything will be fine, that we get to touch or reach other people, in your area, and then encourage you guys to do the same. That's how you can help me.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and telling about this amazing journey that you've been on, and the really cool things that you're doing out there. So I really appreciate you just like, sharing that with us and being so much of an open book. And I can imagine everyone who's watching this is going to get inspired to go and help other people too. So like I can see you're just getting started. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm really excited to see what you're going to build, and you need to open that darn bank account. I mean, soon, like today, because I know we're going to have money coming in for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay? Will you promise me that you're going to open it this week?
I will talk to Kristen.
Amazing, man. Well, thanks again for taking the time. And everybody, thank you so much for watching this. Please take Chino's advice. Please go help the less fortunate in your communities. And if it is possible for you at some point, helping out in his cause, do that too, if it makes sense for you. But thank you for watching. Share this with your friends and your family, and keep an eye out for other really amazing guests like Chino on future episodes of the REI podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.